Hey everybody, this is Dr. Sundermeyer.
And
Um,
I am Dr. Wallace.
that's Dr. Wallace, and we are here for our Sunday Buzz. It's April 25th, and we're running a little behind because we couldn't figure out our speaker stuff. So, the joys of technical difficulties.
I know exactly.
But
Back in the day when you used to have the televisions, it's like we're experiencing technical difficulties and
we're
you can see the
experiencing,
bars. Yeah.
we don't have the availability to do the bars. So, what the heck?
Oh,
um, Obviously, our goal today is to introduce and really discuss Dr. Wallace's work program. He had a light bulb moment a few weeks ago, and all of a sudden our whiteboard was full of words. So we're really excited about this because I think in the big picture, um, change is hard. And when you're dealing with change, it's not only being ready for it, but it's also being ready for the obstacles that are going to take place within it. And I think that this goes beautifully when you're working with doctors like us, like naturopathic physicians, that part of the treatment is based on you. Part of the treatment is the work that you do, and it's not necessarily the miracle pill. So this, I think, is a very beautiful way to move into the summer because we're all about to want to have better fitness, better wellness, feel good, because we're all about to go into bathing suit season, right? That's always scary. I will have the best bathing suit bod as far as I'm concerned. It'll be postpartum bod, so here we go,
no,
right?
it's like 2 weeks away, man. It's
Two
gonna be
weeks.
awesome.
Be
Hmm.
exciting. All
I
right.
know.
Well, with that being said, Dr. Wallace, why don't you just kind of briefly let us know what we're listening to and what we're going to
Yeah.
be talking about today?
Mhm. Well, it's like you introduced well, the premise of the new work program, which I think we've inherently done with all of our patients because it's, to be honest, it's really simple to do labs appropriately and how to interpret them. And then when they see a conventional medicine doctor, it's like, well, you need to lose weight or whatever, or you need to be more active. But
Mm-hmm.
there's no kind of like that motivational interviewing with the patient to sit there and say, well, this is why, or having them really buy in that regards. And so, I think like again, so inherently we as physicians or naturopathic physicians or functional medicine physicians kind of bring this into the play because we want to discuss those things with the patient. So this, I call it the work program just because I remember way back at my dad's age where they had the work program, which was the government.
Oh,
Because it's like, well, if it couldn't work, here's the work program. They'd put you in something. And so you'd either learn a trade, those types of things. So it's like, well, I like work. I think everybody likes work, depending on, if you're passionate about it. The whole thing is like it doesn't become work if you're passionate about it. So I came up with the acronym work, and we'll kind of go through it. But W means willingness to change. And then O is the overcoming the obstacles.
mm-hmm.
And then R is respect the process. And then
Mm-hmm.
K is keep moving.
Okay.
So I think when we meet people and we discuss with them, because a lot of times we're kind of at the end of a lot of searching. I mean, they've been to
Yeah.
everywhere, they've been to everywhere else, and they finally come to us, and then they're like, they're kind of exasperated, possibly, which is changing now. I think
Mm-hmm.
in the context of medicine now, a lot of people are seeking us out because they want to be optimal and they don't want
Correct.
to. But in the very beginning, and we still have those patients that come in, they've seen everybody else. And then
Correct.
a lot of times what we try to tell them is like, well, you just have to put in the time
Mm-hmm.
because things do not happen overnight. And we tried to say it in such a nice way. Okay, we don't want to be so blunt, when I said, like I said, a typical physician or whatever, you come in and you might be over and say, well, you need to lose weight. Okay, that's just a slap in the face. We just had some friends here, and he was talking about, it's like he is a physician in the pain field, and he's like, he sees this all the time from other people or the doctors that come in. It's like, yeah, I've been through all of it. I've been to the yo-yo diets. I've tried keto. I've been
Mm-hmm.
paleo. I've
Mm-hmm.
done all this other stuff. And then it's like, no, well, then let's try to have you buy into it. And like I said, respect the process in that
Right.
regard. So
Well, and I think
it's,
with the willingness to change, I think that's a hard part when people finally find a naturopathic doctor because they've been searching for something for such a length
mhm,
of time. And
yeah.
they've put in effort and they've put in time. And sometimes
Mhm,
you're frustrated now that, well, I found the person that I really like, or I found the person that seems to be understanding my story or my case, or,
mhm,
at least is moving me in a direction where I feel like there's something going on, but now it's not quick enough.
Yeah.
That's also another frustration that I find that a lot of people deal with is the quickness that, or the speed of time. It's, it takes time once you find that person that you have true ability to do work with, and someone that really is taking your case to that next level.
Hmm.
And I think that's the really important thing to talk about too, is that, every practitioner that you're going to meet is going to be a little bit different. Every provider, whether it's a trainer, a health coach, a naturopathic doctor, a functional medicine doctor,
Hmm.
a conventional physician. I mean, there's that time frame that it takes, and that's always super frustrating. But, it's like, again, breathing through the process, knowing that there is going to always be a little bit of a struggle with time.
Hmm.
And obviously we want to be able to give you your time and give you your health back, or
Hmm.
allow you to meet the goals that you're looking for.
Correct. So, the willingness to change. So, from a personal standpoint, for me, the willingness to change a little bit of dietary habits.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was born, back when we didn't have a whole lot of money and going to the rainbow stores and getting ho-hos and ding dongs, those types of things. So intrinsically, you're kind of almost like your brain is hot wired to like, oh man, this is fantastic stuff, which
Oh
it
yeah.
is, but the willingness to change kind of that habit in that regard. So that's when I say nutrition usually is somewhat of the biggest ones. But one of the things that I still struggle with today is the willingness to change what I was taught as a child in regards
Mm,
to seeing my mom and dad. They didn't have the greatest of educations. They were born back in like the depression days, so my dad
mm-hmm,
just worked, and so
mm-hmm,
only thing I saw was him getting up, working, coming
right,
home, sleeping, working. So me, I thought that was what life was supposed to be: just work, get
right,
up, work, come home, have dinner, and then
right,
go back. And so that's still kind of entrenched. So the willingness to change some of the philosophies that we might have seen as a younger, and that really challenges us to sit there and go, well, I'm so used to this, I don't want to go outside my comfort zone. But that change sometimes has to be there in order for you to feel a little bit of pain, whether it meant physical abuse, mental abuse,
mm-hmm,
those types of things. You have to make the change if you want to make those goals in your health today. And so that's why a lot of times we have that roadblock, which we'll get to
right.
the overcoming the obstacles, but you have to make the change first. So I remember a great quote from a friend of mine that was way more mature at the time. He goes, change only comes from the challenge to make a decision. So no
Right,
change comes if you do not make the decision. And
right,
once you make that decision, now it's like you kind of like put it in your mental stamp. It's like, okay, I made the decision. Now,
mm-hmm.
how accountable are you going to be to that decision? Or is it just a decision that you somewhat made, crossing your fingers behind your back?
Well, and
So
it's
it's great
also
if you,
finding where you are in that time of change, right? I think
correct.
I've brought up before, the people that don't don't make their own foods, are less willing to cook for themselves, maybe are a little bit too overzealous in the exercise realm. You have to be ready to make the next step. And
Mhm.
if you're not ready to meet with a practitioner like us sometimes, or any practitioner sometimes, it can be a very difficult,
Mhm.
appointment, because you're going, you want me to do what now?
Yeah.
you
Well,
know
exactly.
and that right there can be difficult. So not only is it you needing to be prepared for the appointment that you're coming into, knowing that there's going to be a 50-50 conversation about to take place. It's not just me giving you all these tools and then you do nothing with them, right? It's me
Mhm.
giving you the tools and then you have to take them and then be able to implement them. And that is definitely not where a lot of people are when they meet us. So it's also meeting you where you are sometimes. So
Mhm.
I have a lot of patients that have told me, oh, I thought you were going to tell me I had to exercise a bunch after this appointment. And I tell them, well, you sound like you're in adrenal fatigue. And the last thing I like people to do in adrenal fatigue is exercise a bunch, but we might
Right.
get there. And when we get there, we'll talk about it, and we have people that we send you to or support you or however we need to do
Right.
that. But every
Correct.
every case is going to be so different. And it's a case by case basis. What changes come with that, you
Mhm.
know?
And like I said, it's like, so we're always evolving in regards to the decisions we make. It's like I love this. Like I have this new stand up desk, which is absolutely fantastic.
I know Dr. Wallace is
It's like
super spoiled. That's all I'm going
I
to
know.
say. His
But it's
office is
amazing.
super fancy.
I know, but going from the PT field and being active for
Yeah.
9 hours out of the day, training athletes, and now obviously sitting down, it's like, well, I can't do this. It's like, what change do I need? Something simple, a stand-up desk. So we always tell people in the pandemic stage, it's like, well, if you have the ability to do it, buy a treadmill that is not a motorized one that you control and do your work on the treadmill. Because it's like if you're used to being at the office and having to see different departments and walking around. So that's
Hmm.
just basic stuff, and it gets more, and like I said, from a psychological standpoint, some of those things that are really hard to change, and those are the really big roadblocks. And obviously, you know we can help on out the deficiencies that might make you more motivated.
Hmm.
Obviously hormones and testosterone, a lot of times
Hmm.
when you're low in testosterone, it's really hard to make a decision. And they have
Correct.
great studies with ADHD in regards to men being low in testosterone not being able to fill out a questionnaire fully as compared to guys that were, and give them testosterone, they're able to fill out the
Interesting.
questionnaire. And so the
Okay.
whole concept of that, well, what can we do from a biochemical standpoint to make you more optimal? But now the really hard part is changing some of the behavior that's leading you down the path. And so those things I think are the hardest things.
Hmm.
But that's why we're here, because we're here to hopefully help guide you,
Hmm.
give you motivation, because we're always your biggest fan, because we want to see you succeed. We
Absolutely.
want to go ahead and help you out, be optimal, just
Right.
because we know how good it feels to be that way. And obviously we as physicians try to live that lifestyle as well, and everybody falls off the wagon. We all fall off the wagon. I fall off the wagon.
Right. Well,
Friends
and
come over.
yeah, friends come over and ruin all the things. No.
I know
Well,
exactly.
my own thing is my willingness to change was when, I really pulled out gluten, dairy. Each stage took me time to admit there was an issue.
Mhm,
And I think that's a
mhm,
really important one. I have a patient recently who was put on an autoimmune paleo diet, and she really had a moment with it. I think, and I think we're about 6 months into her regimen now. And I had an appointment with her over the last month. And she said, I don't have aches and pains anymore. And I know when I eat something I'm not supposed to, like butter. And I used to put butter on everything. And I used to complain about pain all the time, like my joint pain and my hip pain and my back pain. But now my back pain is gone. So even
mhm,
after I go lift at the gym, I have no back pain afterwards. So it's like, you have to be willing to see the change sometimes too. And it happened to me a year ago with gluten, when I for sure gluten the heck out of myself at a lovely Italian restaurant in California with a seminar with Dr. Wallace and a
right.
great friend of ours.
Yep.
And God, they made homemade flatbreads and they made homemade pasta and they made homemade bread, and I had gluten the whole meal. And by the end of it, my brain was, even he was like, are you okay?
Mhm,
Or Dr. Wallace was like, are you okay? And I was like, I can barely hear you guys talking. It was so surreal. And I still remember the moment where I felt like I had this unusual tunnel vision, but the sound was only coming through this itty bitty little hole in this tunnel vision. And it was like I could hear all the sound around me, but it was like, what is that one cartoon where the teachers are like, wah, wah, wah,
oh,
wah,
Charlie Brown, Charlie Brown's
Charlie Brown.
teacher.
I
Yep.
swear it's because he had gluten that he was listening to his teacher sound like that. Or at least that was my
Exactly.
experience. And
Well, back
so,
in the day, that was Hostess Twinkies and stuff like that. That was the norm.
right, but the thing is for me, that was the day that I was like, okay, I knew that a little gluten made me a little sleepy. I knew that if I did it just intermittently, I'd be fine. But that moment was like that was my moment. And that
Mhm,
was the day that I made the change. Because for a couple days after, even I was like, wow, like I feel cruddy. My brain feels sluggish and slow. I feel like my receptivity is sluggish and slow. And you're at a seminar and you want to take everything in. So even we have time where we need to be willing to admit that there's a change that's needed. And I think
mhm,
that's important to understand, that we have to acknowledge it also. So,
right.
that's one of my stories of my change.
Mhm,
And knowing that okay, like I can't mess around anymore. And I'm now really fully gluten free. And I've
yeah.
been for over a year now, really good. And I was, we were really good before, but every now and then we'd be like,
Now we're
oh,
very
let's
good.
let's have a sandwich, so now we don't do that anymore. So well, I think with that being said, I mean, overcoming the obstacles. I feel like we've kind of talked about that a little bit, but I want to go a
Well,
little bit more in depth to what your thoughts on overcoming the obstacles include.
yeah, exactly. So now you made the decision. Okay. So you made the decision, and hopefully it's like I always tell people, whether it's a whiteboard like I have or a book,
Hmm.
and then you write down. So my willingness to change. I will not hold myself accountable for what I did in the past. So let's say that, because that was like one of my biggest things. It's like I really feel like I missed out in life with all the things that I have done in the past, because that's somewhat, like I said, how I was taught. So now what are the obstacles to overdo that? Obviously my own thoughts. So how am
Hmm.
I going to overcome that obstacle? So better meditation,
Okay.
forgiving myself, okay,
Hmm.
meeting someone like Dr. Sundermeyer, that we know where we're on the same kind of wavelength in regards to just philosophy and those types of things. And so that inspires me to go ahead and do those things. So overcoming the obstacles. So simple, gluten. Okay, don't eat gluten.
Well, but I think
We
with that,
teach you how
it's
to
kind of
read,
like,
teach you how to, yeah, so teach you how to read a label,
oh, but man,
teach
those
you what
labels
gluten
can
is
be
in.
fun, right? It's
I
kind of
I
like
know.
what is maltodextrin? What is modified food starch? What is all of these
Hmm.
things? So it's interesting because it's like, okay, I'm ready. I had my aha moment, but now
Hmm.
it's like, okay, this is nasty. Like,
Hmm.
so sometimes obstacles are not just, physical, mental, it's
Hmm.
like dealing with just the change of flavor and taste.
Yeah.
Or like making a decent waffle. I cannot make a decent waffle. I'm just going to be honest. Like, that made
I
me real
know.
mad the other day. But
Hmm.
and I posted about it on Instagram of my destruction of the waffle. But
Right.
it's little things sometimes too, where it's like, God, I would really like to just have a little sense of normalcy, but I have to kind of find it within the parameters. And those are
Hmm.
also obstacles that I think we
Yeah.
all deal with on a daily basis,
Well,
right?
it's like yeah, it changes your paradigm. There are a lot of physicians out there with a lot of things that are appropriate. There's ones that are more world famous than we are, that have bigger blogs and stuff like that. But you have to be willing to go ahead and decipher some of those things as well, because one size does not fit all.
Mm-mm.
The whole concept of like, well, I need to detox. So the overcoming the obstacles, like understanding it's like one detox does not fit all. So
Mm-mm.
I'm just going to rush stuff in, and I'm just going to rush stuff out, and I'm not going to prep my body to go and do that. And I feel like more like crap. So
Right.
that's the overcoming the obstacle, is hopefully having someone, like I said, that either doing the detox, because you're an individual person. Your biochemistry technically is the same with everybody, but how backed up is yours compared to the next person? How many heavy metal, all these other things that go on. So overcoming the obstacle sometimes is it's meeting people that obviously have your best interest in mind, and not just trying to sell something to the general public,
Right.
because you're individual. And so we've had
Right.
patients do that. But again, I really do believe overcoming the obstacles is the stuff, unfortunately, that has happened to us in our early days, to really kind of gear us to our thought processes that we
Mm.
have nowadays. So overcoming the obstacles of having self-worth,
Mm-hmm.
overcoming the obstacle to know that you're worth it, overcoming the obstacles that you are actually loved, and overcoming the obstacles of maybe removing people out of your life that have been there and you feel safe with them, but they're not encouraging you to go
Right.
ahead and actually put forth the effort, or they're very easy to take you out of it. It's like we all
Mm.
have friends that are like, hey man, it's like, we're gonna go have a beer, and I'm like, man, I don't, I really don't want to drink anymore, those types of things. So hey, let's just hang out.
Mm-hmm.
Those types of things. And it's like, then you go there, and all of a sudden, that old habit, because I've been there, one beer leads to three, and then it leads to old fashions, and then all of a sudden, I'm tore up for a couple of days. And so, but the concept in my head is like, I know I have to be the one to be strong enough to sit there and hopefully bring those people along to my side. And
Correct.
sometimes just that overcoming the obstacle in that. So, and those are the things that we get, because we're all human and we all
Mm-hmm.
have those flaws.
Mm-hmm.
But as we go ahead and work together,
Mm-hmm.
then we can sit there and encourage each other, because we're all about encouragement. Say, hey, I was doing really well, and then I went a month, and then I did okay. So explain that to me. Explain what kind of processes happened. Did you have more stress? Or those types of things. It's like, okay, well, maybe we need to do better stress coping mechanisms with you, and
Right.
really try to teach you those types of things. Because now, instead of being a month off of the process, the next time it happens, you're only a week.
Correct.
So those are the things that are always going. But so overcoming the obstacle is really tough, but
Hmm.
you have to make the decision first. If you somewhat don't go in the process of doing this and you just start overcoming obstacles, but you're not willing to change,
Right.
you'll work really well, which we see patients for 6 months, and then boom, okay, they're just off the planet and those type of things. Because when that decision was made, they didn't go to the steps. They just went ahead, well, I'm going to overcome this
Right.
and I feel good, but then I'm not willingness to change, or I'm not making that decision to really put forth that mental note in the brain
Right.
to actually make those things change. So
Okay.
it is
Well,
very tough
and it,
because
yeah, I mean, and this is, and I think when we're talking about this, I mean, we're talking about this so far in, we've been talking about this for 20 minutes. I think the one thing to remind yourself is, in the conversation we had with our good friends over the weekend is, you know, people have been making these changes for years. The process is not like I'm going to have one appointment and then I'm going to be perfect, because that's, it's a time sensitive, it's not time sensitive, but in time you'll get there. And
yeah,
that's the important thing. It's like, just like we were gluten free for, for the most part in the home was fully gluten free, but we'd go out and have a sandwich, or we'd go visit family and eat the cake or whatever. And then eventually you're kind of like, yeah, I don't eat that cake anymore, actually I'm fine. And
yeah, yeah,
so it's time. I mean, the process for me has been years to make, to make the changes dietarily, to
mhm.
pull the dairy out, to realize that dairy was an issue for me. I did that back in
And
2010.
corn and
And
soy,
corn
because
and soy. Oh,
mhm,
yeah. So
she had a
I'm
fantastic and soys and everything.
soy's
I,
an,
I, I
oh,
can't I can't believe how much stuff has
I know
soy in it. I'm
you've
like, it
gotten a lot
doesn't
of
need to
soy
be
pulled
there.
out of you for sure.
Oh no, it's just retarded.
But
Pardon my.
but we have to remember is that we live in a conventional world where we're trying to find balance as practitioners. So we had a good friend who has ulcerative colitis, and her significant other was like, you should pull out grains. And she was like, why would I pull out grains? No doctor has ever told me this before, right? Why would that be something of concern? So she, so it's like, well, you're hearing one person say one thing, which is actually a really good statement for people with
Mhm.
certain digestive issues, but it's being willing to listen, but also being willing to go, wow, my whole diet is consistent of grains, or how do I
Mhm.
move forward with that? And then being willing to listen to that and then move forward. And that's, I think, perfect, because now we're in the R world of
Yeah,
respect.
yeah. But the concept with the obstacle just in that spot, remove the grains. You've been entrenched your whole life with the food
Hmm.
pyramid at the very bottom of the food pyramid to eat a ton of grain.
Yeah.
So it's when I like our friend went ahead and discussed. I don't think it's no fault from the person.
No,
It's
by no
just what you've been
means.
taught. But
It's
now overcoming that obstacle is seeing a different perspective and having a little bit of sense and
mhm,
trial. And then also I feel much better. So even
mhm,
though this is what's recommended, but your body feels like crap, trust your body. And that's
right.
overcoming an obstacle.
But that's
It's like
also
they tell
respecting.
me to do, yeah, respect the process. Correct. We'll get which we'll get to. But overcoming that obstacle is our own thought. Man, I'm feeling so much good, but this is not what's recommended in regards to the ADA, or this is not recommended of what I heard from another
Or
famous doctor.
my gastroenterologist. Why would
My
has it my
gastro.
gastroenterologist told me this? I've dealt with
Correct.
these digestive issues or IBS or
Mhm,
whatever it might be for,
mhm,
for 20 years, and all of a sudden now
mhm.
you are telling me to go grain free. Like, who are you? Right? So, and
Exactly.
that's also, some of the things that it's a shock. The change,
Mhm.
willing to change, to overcome, knowing that change is necessary is the probably
Mhm.
the hardest two
Yeah.
steps to make.
And now respect the process. Just like Dr. Sundermeyer said, Rome was not built in a
Been
day.
trying to tell him he's got to move on to the R, but he just finally listened, I guess.
Exactly, exactly. So respect the process. And so usually the first kind of visit when we see people, and especially if we know where they're somewhat at from a
Right.
biochemical standpoint, it's like we tell them, it's like this is not going to be 2 weeks. This might be 6 months, a year. But as long as you're trending up like the stock market, you'll have some crashes. But as long as you're going up, if we explain that, it
Hmm.
just helps resonate into them a little bit more, because this is a lifelong process. This is
Correct.
something that you've had 40 years. Okay. I was born, I had an antibiotic before the age of 2. My stomach has been jacked up ever since. And
Hmm.
now I've been doing this, this, and this. And then they finally see us at age 45. and then you have 45 years of just chaos happening in your body. So
Right.
respecting the process to sit and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. This
Hmm.
is the hardships that you're going to have,
Hmm.
and this is the part. But if you respect the process, you will actually start to improve. But that is tough because the merit or the psyche of anything, just like I am, it's like I want it yesterday, and that
Hmm.
was actually the change. So if
Right.
your change is to be more patient with yourself, then you'll actually start to respect the process. So you see
Right.
how it kind of works. If you just respect the process but didn't make the change, you go, I tried for 3 months and I'm not feeling better, so I'm going to stop. And it's like, no, we kind of discussed that we're going to do this, and it's going to take 6 maybe to a year, just because this is how cells replicate, and this is
Hmm.
how healing takes place, and it just
Correct.
doesn't happen. So those are the kind of concept, but and they can't skip. And so if they respect the process, they made the willing to change, they're overcome the obstacles, and they're really understanding the process, then it's like, okay, everything starts to really work. And then we always tell them you're going to have probably, fall off a little bit and then go back
Hmm.
on and fall off. And that might be something that happens in 10 minutes. My brain is always, for some reason, I do something, I doubt myself, and I got to build myself back up. And that can happen in an instant, like a flip book.
Right.
But I don't allow that negative thought now to ruin me for the whole day.
Right.
Okay. It's like, okay, this negative thought came in. Nope, everything's good. Beautiful wife. I got a home. I'm going to be 50. I have my health. I can still play basketball, all these other things. And so everything's good.
Right.
Okay. It's not what I wanted when I was 16, trying to smoke Camel non-filters and be in a rock and roll band. You
We don't
So,
always get to be in a
yeah.
rock and roll band.
So, hey, correct. Well, those are the things that it's like, man, if I would just, it's like, no, it's like I suck. I draw stick figures. I'm not artistic. I can build stuff, but I can't draw stuff to save my life. Those times. So respecting the process
Hmm.
is all about that. And we as physicians will help you understand that in motivational interviewing, those types of things, rather than just going, a typical convention doctor. We hear the story all the time. You need to lose weight. Okay, doc. What should I do? You just need to eat better and exercise. Okay, see you later. I was
Right.
like, what?
Right.
Yeah. So if I'm left on my own to make those
Hmm.
decisions, and I don't maybe have guidance from someone that I'm trusting,
Right.
okay, because he's in a white lab coat, so I got, there's some inherent trust, but he's just telling me to do that. It's like, I'm not going to do anything because I didn't get any tools.
Right.
He didn't help me in that regards to help do those things. And so that's what we talk about, respecting the process, just because it is going to take a while.
Well, and I think sometimes in motivational interviewing in this process, you're so engulfed in it that you don't even realize what changes have been made.
Hmm.
So, when we sit there and we have our 6-month appointment or a year appointment, I will pull out our first appointment a lot of the times and go, well, tell me how this is. When we first met, you told me about this. Oh, I forgot about that. Or tell me how you're doing with this part of your treatment. And
Hmm.
that's right. Like because as it falls away, we start noticing other things and we think we're not making progress. But I would say a lot of the time people make really good progress. And
Yeah.
it's just you're so engulfed in, oh, I have to take these supplements, or oh, I got to eat this way, or man, going out and eating these days is never fun because I have this many foods that I can eat off a menu that's this big. And
Hmm.
so sometimes it is nice to be able to be reminded where we started as well. And then
Hmm.
it allows you to have your second aha moment to go, wow, I've been actually moving forward really beautifully.
Hmm.
And that I
Yeah.
think is
Yeah.
a really cool moment
Hmm.
when people go, oh, that's right. That
Hmm.
that was happening, right?
Yeah. Correct. And I think one of your things, overcoming obstacles, is if you go to a restaurant,
Yeah.
asking them, I don't want a pan to cook my steak and butter.
Right. Oh,
So
yeah.
the concept of the restaurant does have to be accommodating, because you can sit and
Mhm.
say I have an allergy, and if they technically cook that and you have anaphylaxis,
Right. Right.
it's like they're held liable. So the concept of being confident to ask certain restaurants that you love, it's like, please don't cook this and this, or please do this. And I know it's tough, but the concept is, it's like, okay, if you do it in a perfect fine way, hey, I have an allergy, those types of things. But
Right.
that's an obstacle because it's voicing yourself. And that's what I'm trying to teach to my daughter as we speak. She's very shy.
Right.
So unfortunately, shy people get rolled over, or
Right.
because you have someone that has a louder voice. So you don't have to be a jerk about it, but it's just like, hey, I would like to have this T-bone steak, but can you please cook it not in butter and
Right.
whatever on the side, and having the confidence to ask those things and not feeling like you're putting somebody out. So
Right.
that's an obstacle, is that self-confidence to actually ask for those things. So you can still go out and your menu might be a little bit smaller, but it
Correct.
might be a little bit more vast if you just ask for those things to be cooked, okay, in a
Right.
separate pan or.
And I
Mhm.
would say for the most part, they'll either let you know if it's feasible or if they can absolutely accommodate you. And thankfully, I mean, for me with dairy, for me with gluten, for me with corn, I mean, they've been really good. I mean, we went to lunch yesterday with our friends that came in to visit us from out of town, and we had like these chickpea lettuce wrap thing. And I
Oh
was
no,
like,
they're fantastic, man.
they were really delicious, but I was like, what's in it?
Yeah, exactly.
You say they're gluten-free and vegan, but that still could mean that there's, corn in it or
Mhm.
other byproducts in it to make the fritter, chickpea
Yeah,
fritter.
the chickpea fritter.
So good though. But and he was like, well, let me go ask the chef. And that
Mhm.
was really cool. So, and thankfully my friends understand where I'm coming from because they've also had their dietary shifts in life. And
Mhm.
um, people are willing to go, oh, cool. Like they're willing to take that moment with you so that you can feel good and
Mhm.
you don't
Yeah.
have a bad afternoon. But
Mhm.
that's also what you have to be willing to do around your own friends.
Yeah, well, that exactly.
Hmm.
The simple thing is ordering food. Everybody orders, hey, I'll have this and this, and then it's real quick, and then it comes to you in a second. You're looking at the menu, it's like, oh, what about this, this,
Hmm.
this, this, and this, and everybody else is looking at you, and it's like 5 minutes later. It's all right. You can let them
Yeah.
know off the bat if they're really good friends, they'll understand. If they sit there and say, Gee, can you please just order something from the menu? You might wanna second guess that obstacle about having maybe that friend in your life.
Or going to eat with
Okay,
that friend.
or going to eat with that friend or not inviting them anymore. So you are correct. Okay.
Yeah.
So the next one, K, keep moving forward. Okay. So stagnation. So we all know as naturopathic and functional medicine doctors, stagnation is absolutely horrible.
Hmm.
With stagnant body, it doesn't move, fluid's not moving. The new one of the new concept is anti-aging is the senescent cell, where it no longer go from a phase of living, goes through death, and that's how cells are supposed to do it. It just gets stuck.
Right.
And now that senescent cell just being stuck there, it gives out all inflammatory markers, and your body gets inflamed because you want it to go through the process of actually living. It's old, it gets killed off, new ones are being made, but it just
Right.
stays there stuck. So now we go ahead and incorporate that into our whole body.
Right.
I'm doing well, and then I don't keep moving forward. Whether I
Hmm.
get stuck mentally, whether I get stuck physically, where unfortunately it's like I just lost my job, those types of things. Even the
Right.
concept of keeping moving forward is like, great. Well, the positivity in that, it's like I lost my job. I really didn't like the job anyway. Okay, so changing some of the mindset to sit there and say, great, well, things are better going to happen as long as you keep moving forward.
Right.
Okay, and so we don't want to backtrack to old habits, and we see that a lot. I'm doing great, and then unfortunately, Halloween, Thanksgiving, and
Oh
Christmas comes.
man, that trio of months is a very intense month
Correct.
for a lot of
So then it's like,
people.
it's like
Correct.
I was fantastic, and then I just fell off the wagon. It's
Hmm.
like, no, we got to keep moving forward with our mentality, and I'm
Right.
feeling great. And
Hmm.
other people bring them along, because if they see you no longer in pain, you're vibrant, and your skin looks good, it's like maybe they'll want to come along to your side, and not falling back onto some of those bad habits. But
Yeah.
my thing is stagnation absolutely kills. And that means I want to learn a new language, or I want to go ahead and do this puzzle, simple stuff.
Right.
It doesn't have to be something complicated. It's like keep moving forward, and that will actually, like I said, help invigorate and keep all the other ones. So,
Well,
the
also,
willingness.
there's going to be times where you're going to make mistakes. There's going to be
Hmm.
times where you are going to eat the Halloween candy. And then you realize, wow, I feel really cruddy. I need to get back online. And instead
Hmm.
of going, I've gone too far backwards, it's too hard to move forward, being willing to kind of push through that little bit of either
Hmm.
discomfort or digestive and imbalance, or just feeling more sluggish again as your body kind of clears it out, and you take what supplements and support is necessary, and
Hmm.
then get back on track. Because sometimes it's that statement of, I was doing really well and then I fell off the wagon and then I just never got back on.
Hmm.
you know,
Correct.
and
Yep.
I stopped my regimen, or I stopped taking my
Mhm.
supplements, or I
Yep.
stopped walking again. And, so it's like, pulling yourself back out of oh, I went too far backwards, I can't get back on. And, the
Yeah.
cool thing about the body is it's so amazing that it will always want to help you heal. It will
Mhm.
always want you to move forward.
Yeah.
And even though we might not feel great, that's a part of your body attempting to yell at you to say,
Correct.
this is not good for us, or how do we get out of this funk so that we can take it to the next step again.
Well, that's again, so excuse me, on the perfect plan, you're doing everything right, and then you, like you said, you stop. So we don't have the moving forward part means you don't have to start everything all at once again. It's
Right.
like, you know what, I really went in off the well and I felt really good. Well, then however you need to be, maybe adding in one extra bowl of vegetables or whatever a day. Or
Hmm.
I really started drinking less water, and I'm like, well, the moving forward part is like, well, then just drink one extra glass of water. Or
Right.
I'm going to go ahead and set my alarm or whatever. I'm just going to get that. So we don't have to incorporate. But the thing is, like, you're not moving forward anymore and you're moving backwards. Slowly start to do those processes. And that's where I think betterment comes, because a lot of times, if you've been so bad and you really throw the whole kitchen sink back at them again,
Hmm.
are they so toxic, like you said, that are we really moving toxins out of the body, or are we just really messing on up with some of the biochemistry that they actually feel
Right.
even a little bit worse? So it's like, no, now that's when you meet with us and we sit there and say, okay, you fell off of everything. Let's go ahead and add in just the multivitamin. That's it.
Yeah.
We don't have to do the multivitamin and the pregnenolone and all these other things. Just add that back in. Let's do some things. Let's see how you get, and then they start to go ahead and feel better.
Right.
And that's, like I said, that's just the relationship that we have, because we're always there to go ahead and help you guide through that. Not like a slap on the wrist and you feel reprimanded. Hell no. No one does well, especially as adults.
I think I've
Like I
only
said,
jokingly reprimanded a couple people, going, you are trouble.
correct. But that's done in a way. See, I like that because it's done in a way, it's not like, you know what, you are going to have cancer if you do
No,
not go ahead and
no,
continue this. I mean,
no.
no one wants to hear that. But that whole scare tactic, now you can, like I say, explain to them, hey, if you continue this way, you had some markers,
Right.
and it's like, I really want to make sure that you're as optimal as you want to be at 60. If you have grandchildren, I want you to
Right.
be able to get down on your knees and play with the kids and not feel like you have to get down on your knees and then you need help,
Getting up.
and try to get back up and those
Right.
types of things, because that influences, when I say weakness, they see grandma being frail or grandpa being frail. It's like, you want to see and have people see you as like, I can do this. It's like,
Right.
you can still be 60 and be like me and be healthy and not see what's in the world right now,
Right.
Coca-Cola, and the people are really thin watching, the Coca-Cola commercials, going, oh wow, I mean, I can be, a 6'2" blonde and I can drink Coke and be only 120 pounds. That's amazing. And
Right.
then when that doesn't happen, you're like, well, what happened? I listened to everything that my normal conventional doctor told me, but I was also following what media, like I
Yeah.
said, does for me. So I want people to be vibrant so they can be the pillars that people see in their family, or
Right.
see them struggling, because then it makes it more real for them
Hmm.
to sit there and say, it just doesn't happen. I mean, grandma and grandpa and stuff like that, or my dad and my mom
Hmm.
really took an effort. And so that instills in me, it's like, I have to do that as well, instead of, like I said, being frail and weak and those types of things, which, not to bring up this lovely thing that's happening in the world right now, the biggest sign for basically morbidity and death is frailty.
Right.
And so grip strength and strong and muscle and those
Right.
types of things obviously prevent other diseases from taking hold of us.
Right.
And so if we really want to be healthy and not be 70 and have, like I said, extreme viral load or something simple comes and takes us, then we need to start these habits now. And
Right.
that's where the work program comes into play.
Perfect. Well, I think with that being said, I think that is a beautiful description of what our goal is when we meet with you and when we learn about your story. And obviously, every case is different. Sometimes it's you just want to keep yourself feeling good, and other times it's you've let yourself go, and now we need to get you back into feeling good. So, these are part of the steps that we take, and it's not always a 0 to 100 story. You can't go from zero effort to 100% effort within the first appointment, and that's never, I think, how we move people forward. I mean, we meet you where you are, and then we proceed, right? It's one step at a time. It's not always going to be a huge exercise regimen, and sometimes it's going to be you need to stop exercising. you know and
Right.
so it's all about all about time and giving yourself the opportunity to make those changes.
Yep.
Um,
So
anything?
we'd love to hear your comment. I know we'd love to hear your comments. So tell us, like I said, on our social media, what things have you changed? We'd love to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
So, comment on our post, send us, like I said, a private message, say, hey, these are the things that we've changed, or these are the
Hmm.
things that I'm willing to change. Just because sometimes when you is like you think it, you write it, you send it, it's like, wow, okay, that's pretty cool. Because then we
Now
can
I
come and
have
say,
to do it.
congratulations. I know, congratulations. Those are the
Yes.
things. Again, as a 50-year-old person that's been through a lot of mental stuff,
You're not 50
and
yet. Stop
I
making
know, not
yourself older.
May 23rd.
Oh
So
my
we're gonna have two May people. It's
God. I
like my
know.
son
I'm
and
in
me. So I
trouble.
feel very bad for doctors.
Thank you. Everybody should feel bad for me with two stubborn May babies.
So we appreciate it. We'd love to have you guys, like I said, on as patients. Share this with anybody that would maybe need some assistance in regards to just having some motivation
Hmm.
to go ahead and do some of the work in regards to the W.O.R.K program. But I appreciate all of you guys because you've had made us fantastic physicians, just because we have to continually learn, um, just because that's what you're supposed to do.
We have to keep moving forward.
Exactly.
With
But
that being said, we have we'll have our next Sunday buzz, and I'm going to just make sure that I actually wrote a Sunday down before I redo this and tell you all about it. But we're looking at Sunday the 16th of May for our
mhm,
next buzz at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time and Pacific Standard Time. And Dr. Wallace will be talking about estrogen and weight loss. So we're
mhm,
really excited about this one because I think estrogen gets a really bad rap a lot of the time. Um, I mean, we live in a very estrogenic world, so it would get a very bad rap between, different cancers, but obviously also weight gain and the misconception that estrogen will make us gain a ton of weight. And so, but again, all about balance. I will be maybe present, maybe not. We're not sure.
she'll be behind the scenes. You might just get to see a picture of our kiddo, which we don't have a name yet. There's like 20, so he's gonna have the biggest football jersey or whatever.
He's just going to have a bunch of letters on it.
I just got.
Maybe
So what is this? So I don't know
Wallace, something or
exactly.
other Wallace.
Aiden, Thor.
That's just,
Cassius.
we're figuring it out. We have to meet. I have to meet him. I refuse to make a decision. That's just all it is.
Yes. But anyways, have a great Sunday, everybody, and we thank you. Like I said, write some comments. We'd love to hear your comments.
All right. And don't forget that you can watch this on Facebook afterwards and on our YouTube page. And don't forget to like us on Instagram. You guys have a very beautiful rest of your Sunday, and we will see you soon. I'm Dr.
Yeah,
Sundermeyer.
I am Dr. Wallace.
All right.